Hello students, and welcome to your newly improved second tutorial. When you open up Adobe Bridge, either from a desktop shortcut or from your Windows or on your Mac, you will often find that you'll see a lot of different files. You will normally go to what your name is, your login, and you will find your Google Drive. From here you can go in and look through your photography folder, your tutorial folder, and you'll see all the images that we saved from last time's tutorial. Today we're going to open up the second picture, but we're also going to insert the first picture that we edited the other day, or cropped rather. Now, even former students, this is a newer and easier way to combine images. So we simply double click, and we'll take a moment for Photoshop to open. And from here, remember that if we do Window, Workspace, and Reset Essentials, it brings up everything the way we need it to. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to right-click here in our Layers palette and duplicate our layer. Again, that allows us to keep our background intact if we choose to make any edits on top of here. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move away from the crop. We're not going to crop, and just to our moving image. And I just want to show you that, see, when I move this, see, look, that other layer is still underneath there. Okay, I'm going to show you a very easy way, a quick way to edit in Photoshop, and that is through the filter program, filter gallery. These are very kind of Photoshop-y looking images. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out so we can see this image better. And notice that all of these folders have different drop-down menus, and when I click on here, it will put different effects over top of my image. So this first one is a colored pencil. And I can even select within this particular artistic use, I can adjust different techniques here with different layers. This is actually not a great look. Let's have a look at the dry brush. And again, it's taking my image a moment to render. So if I want this to look a little bit more, let's go to sponge. I think that one will give enough of a different effect. Okay, so we can see that this does have a filtered look to it. We can change how large the brush size is, how defined it is, and maybe even how smooth it looks. So again, it is taking a moment to render because I am recording this as well as doing this within Photoshop. These things do not happen immediately. So you can see it's gradually going across the image. Okay, so we're going to pretend that we love this sponge effect, and I'm going to select OK. And now look at your image. Your image now has that filter on top of it. Now, I want to show you something about layers over here. If you have an eyeball on or off, it means that you can see that layer. So if I turn the eyeball off, see, there's our original image. Here's our sponged image. Again, original and sponged. So I'm not saying that the filter here is an improvement on this image, because I don't believe that it is, but it's one particular effect that you can use. And I just wanted to show you where that whole gallery was. And again, a reminder, filter and filter gallery, and you can bring all those back up. And again, there are many folders and many effects to choose from, so you do not have to select the one that I used in this particular tutorial. You may use any of them from any of the folders that pop up, and I would expect you to adjust those. Okay, and actually what this did was it actually reset that same filter on top of there. So I'm going to go to Edit and step backwards, and just for the shortcut keys, Alt-Control-Z also does the same thing. Okay, this is brand new for former students. A much easier way to bring in old images is to go, or another image on top of this image, is to go to File and Place. And it's about halfway down. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this edited, cropped image that we had from before, and we're going to place it and resize it into the same image. So I'm going to hit Place. And notice that it comes with this big box on the outside. First of all, if I have my Move tool selected, which I do, I can move this image into any part of the image that I want. I'm going to go ahead and cover up my feet, okay? And if you look up here, this is very important. You want to click this lock button, and what that does is that when I pull from the corner, it's keeping the image non-distorted. If I were to unlock this image, and now I kind of drag and pull, I can make it look a little bit more like a fun house, either too wide or too tall. This is very important that, again, we go back to that locked image, see how it reset that into place. So if I make it larger or if I make it smaller, then I can move it into, I can keep it to normal viewing size, normal ratio. I can also tilt the image and kind of rotate it any direction. Some people sometimes want to know, how can I make an image the reverse of itself? I can do that too. Okay, so I can rotate it, and then actually, since I reset it, it turned it upside down. So I can move it any direction that I want. Once I have it the size that I prefer, after I place this image, and I have it, I'm just going to tilt it just a little for fun. I can go ahead and hit enter, and now that picture is in place. I can still move that image, but I cannot resize it again. If I said, oh, I still want it smaller or I want it larger, I can either hit Control T or Command T to rechange the size. And again, I really need to go back up to that lockout image so that I don't distort the image, and I can make it smaller and move the image as I want to, and hit enter. One more chance for me to show you some cool effects here a little bit earlier on. While I am on this image that I brought over, I'm going to go down to this little effects tool, and I'm going to click on to blending options. And from here, I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see these. We can do a bunch of different things. The first thing I could do is add a drop shadow. And if we click this on and off, okay, you might notice, as I'm going to zoom in here a little, look at the edge here of this. So the drop shadow is off and on and off and on. And again, just adding depth to that. There are a bunch of different ones here. I think stroke is also a good one. Okay, so I click on that stroke. I can now add an outline around the image. I can change its color. I can change whether it's inside or outside or in the center. Again, what this does is just adds definition maybe to the picture, so it looks like a little picture sitting on top, maybe like a postcard. So, and again, you can play around with all of these different ones. Notice each time I click on something, it gives me a different set of tools here that I can play with. And I would encourage you to do that. I'm going to unclick these other things, uncheck them. But I would encourage you to play with those to make definition out of your layers later on with your text, anything that you combine and put your pictures together. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK because I do like that particular look to it. Okay, and please remember that Control T or Command T on the Mac allow you to, again, after you lock out, resize any image appropriately. I kind of like it looking like a stamp, but because it's a little bit crooked, let me straighten it out and move it up here. And I hit enter. And again, File, Save As. Automatically, because we have all these layers here, it's going to save it as a Photoshop file. So I'm going to let it just rename that same name. That is just fine, and hit OK. However, now when I want to change it, assuming that I am absolutely done and I never want to come back and mess with these layers again, I'm going to go to File, Save As a second time, and I'm going to save it as a JPEG. Now I don't want it to save over my original JPEG, the image that you downloaded that was mine. So I'm just going to simply add the little letter B, or you could change the name however you want, or you could call it edited. Sometimes students do that because it just makes their lives easier, however you want to do that. And you click Save, and again it's going to ask you, do you want these options? You click OK. And now look, when I go back to Bridge, boom, I have a couple more images. And again, in Bridge, remember, I can move these and I can put these in order because when the teacher comes by to grade your image, I want to see the before and then the edited, the after. Okay, so and again, I can zoom in on these a little with Bridge, a quick reminder of how to view those, both your before image, which is just the picture, and the after, where we did something simple like adding a filter and then adding an image and adjusting it. So whether you are new or have been through photography before, this is an excellent reminder of how to do some basic edits in photography in Photoshop. Good luck!